up on NFL Primetime. 4 teams fight for the last 2 spots in a battle of dome dwellers. Mighty Minnesota looks to get back to the NFC Championship game, while the high-powered Rams try to keep their Cinderella season rolling. In the AFC, the Titans hope to shock the world with another Music City miracle. Will Peyton prove the Colts crew is rested and ready? Who'll advance to Championship Sunday? Who'll survive on Divisional Playoff Primetime? Coming up next. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to Divisional Sunday NFL Primetime. Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. Always exciting when we know who the final pieces are to the Final Four. And, well, we expected high wire early. We got it.
Very similar in a way to what we saw yesterday from our first 2 participants that got in.
Yes. Early. Whoop. Late. We will explain the sound effects here on NFL Primetime. Well, 33 years of football in the National Football League in St. Louis, 28 with the Cardinals, 5 with the Rams, and finally, a home playoff game. And the St. Louis Rams have one of the most fun seasons you could ever imagine. 526 points scored this year for Dick Vermeil's 13-3 Rams was the 3rd best total ever in NFL history. The best total ever, last year's Minnesota Vikings, who tallied 556 points. This year's edition, not quite the same scoring machine, but with 4 straight wins, including last week against Dallas, here came the Vikes, wondering if St. Louis would be wobbly with their first playoff game. Well, this was a game that you knew that would be played above the rim. Fitting, an aerial show at the TWA Dome between 2 of the high-flying acts in the NFL. Dick Vermeil, first playoff game since '81 when he was at the Eagles. Kurt Warner to Isaac Bruce, and boy, did the Rams get on you early. 77 yards, the second longest postseason pass play in Ram history. Only Mr. Outside Glenn Davis went 82 yards back in 1950 on a pass from Waterfield. 7-3 Rams.
Isaac Bruce in the slot. Take a look at the safety at the top of the screen. He gets on top of him very quick, runs to the opposite numbers, and he is gone with a perfect throw from Kurt Warner.
Not all the throws have to be long. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are the short variety, like this one to Marshall Faulk. We talk about the second burners he has. Watch this. Whoop! It's a different speed. Whoop! He's in the end zone, 41 yards, 14-3.
The Rams talked about the matchup between Dwayne Rudd and Marshall Faulk. That's Dwayne Rudd with the arrow on him. Watch him try to get to the screen. He gets cut down, does a great job of getting up, making an effort to get back to Marshall Faulk, and then look at Marshall Faulk shift it into the next gear, run across the field, and he has great balance, runs under control. Combine that with great speed, you get a touchdown.
And this is what happens. You have the lead, and here comes the St. Louis defense. Charlie Clements, the big man, makes George feel like a saxophone. Then, Rams ball 1st and 10 of the 47. Warner looking for Isaac Bruce. But the Vikings defense, Jimmy Hitchcock taking 39 steps to make the interception. And the Vikings then, although they start the drive on their own 4, they say, look, we can score. George to Randy Moss, 23 yards. On 3rd and 14, George. Jake Reed, 41 yards. 2nd down now at the 22. George, 9-2 as a starter. To Chris Carter, all he does?
Catch touchdown.
22 yards, 14-10, the Vikings within 4. Then all of a sudden, the Rams. Marshall Faulk ran for only 21 yards today, and this is a fumble. Robert Griffith, right there, picks it up for Minnesota. So Minnesota, they go to work. George, Randy Moss. Now look at the big fella, almost split it all the way, but he goes down to the 6, which a play later on 2nd and goal from the 4. Leroy Hort and the Minnesota Vikings. Boy, they fall behind, but they come back. It's 17-14, and Evander Holyfield enjoying the heavyweight battle. 2nd half kickoff, 17-14 Vikes. Tony Horn, 2 kickoff returns this year for touchdowns. Tony Horn of plenty. Outside. Boy, everyone on this team is fast. He could go all the way. 95 yards. 21-17 Rams, bobbing and weaving on the 2nd half kickoff top.
You take a look at Tony Horn fielding this kick, and if you saw this game, they almost had 2 or 3 returns for touchdown. Great view of the hole, great speed to get to the gap, and once Tony Horn sees the gap, holds his balance right there, and he's off to the races.
And speaking of off to the races, here comes the Rams scoring onslaught. Falk, 1-yard touchdown, 28-17. Still third quarter. Remember, they trailed 17-14 at the half. Warner to Robert Holcomb. First down inside the 15, Tom.
And the reason that Warner had time to throw the ball, look at the block right there by Marshall Falk on Ed McDaniel, turns him head over heels.
On the next play, Warner to Jeff Robinson, 13-yard touchdown, 35-17. The onslaught continues early in the fourth. Warner to tackle-eligible Ryan Tucker. This guy has 2 touchdowns. He's a tackle.
Ryan Tucker, number 50 at the bottom of the screen. He slips right through the end. The defense read run. He got back behind him for the pass.
Scored one against the Lions, and now he scores ones against the Vikes. And then Warner to Roland Williams, 49-17. They've scored 35 points in 22 minutes. 5 touchdown passes for Warner. George throwing deep, just trying to get the Vikings a shot. Randy Moss is looking for interference. And you know what? He's a wonderful, wonderful player. But he squirts this at the ref. Cut it out, Randy. Grow up. Your third year next year, you're one of the best talents in the league. We don't need this. In the end, Kurt Warner, 5 touchdown passes to continue his Cinderella season. And Dick Vermeil, he said, I don't think this team knows how good it can be. Wow. Can it be better than what they showed this year, Tom, and what they showed today? 49-37 in a game that wasn't that close, as Warner and George combined for throwing, while it was George, and actually in a regulation game. In other words, not overtime. His 424 yards were the most passing yards, but they were all after Warner, threw for 391 and 5 touchdowns. Dick Vermeil says, you know what, my quarterback, he's pretty good.
Are you surprised? Okay. I mean, he's special. I've said that all along. He's special. From what I understand, he was 27 for 33. That's a pretty good day's work.
3 or 4 games in this year, we expected ourselves to be here, and we expected ourselves to be winning this game. So to us, you know, this is just one step. We've got a long ways to go from what we feel we can accomplish.
Nothing that I take from this game that's going to really have me moping around. I think I've got used to losing. I've got used to losing somewhat.
It's going to be a great matchup. You know, it's going to be, you know, our strength with our offense against their strength, their defense. And, you know, it's going to be a fun game to be a part of. This team seems to thrive on challenges, and that's going to be another one for this offense. And, you know, we're going to be looking forward to it.
Really, today, I think, was a real, hopefully, we painted a glaring picture that we really don't have any obvious weaknesses.
Whoa. Well, you know what I mean? He's just being honest. This isn't a boastful coach. And you heard Kurt Warner, Tommy, talking about the game next week, which we'll talk about later. Opposite styles against Tampa in a rematch 20 years later, the 79 championship game, Rams and Buccaneers. Tommy, the Rams throw that knockout punch early. They're up 14-3. Most of the times they get rid of other teams. To Minnesota's credit, they came back. So the Rams says, okay, we tried the infantry. Here come the artillery. 35 points in 22 minutes. Goodbye.
Well, I think when you talk about this offense and that phase of their game, they are able to stretch you not only vertically, they stretch you horizontally with the speed. Chris referenced the short passes that he can throw to Azakim and Isaac Bruce, and they can take those balls. Marshall Falk, we can take it all the way to the house. So I think that when you have that ability, you come out and no matter what the defense is doing, if the safeties are playing deep, then you throw the short passes across. But you also have the guys who can get through the seam if they play too close to the line. You know, I think they put you in a quandary and in a bind that you really can't solve right now. 27
completions to 10 different receivers for Kurt Warner, and oh, by the way, almost 400 yards. Now, the Vikings, look, they gave up 49 points. I mean, in the end, the Rams, it looked like they were going to win the game. But they had some things working for a while, and they got away from it. But the special teams did him in on the return and then a fumble in the third quarter.
Special teams did him in, but I think defensively you had to pick your poison. I think that they made up their minds that they were going to play up to the line of scrimmage, especially with the linebackers. We are going to stop the run. We are going to force them to be a one-dimensional football team. It's just too bad that one dimension may be the best passing game in the NFL right now. And I think without a doubt, the way they're playing, this game looks better than what the Vikings showed us even last year.
And playoff jitters?
They didn't have them.
Didn't see any. The second highest scoring game in NFL playoff history, the 86 combined points. Only Philly and Detroit in 95 was more than that. And as we go inside the numbers, Kurt Warner is now on a pretty good list. Oh, by the way, we never heard of him. We thought he was a Seattle running back until September. 41 touchdowns in the regular season and 5 today. Just look at the names on the list. For Steve Young in Super Bowl 29 and Darryl LaMonica, the Mad Bomber, had 6 touchdown passes in a postseason game. Kay Warner joins Jay Montana and S. Luckman, and the Mad Bomber again with 5 touchdown passes. The old Ram team record, 3. Bob Waterfield and Vince Ferragamo.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa, the official card of the NFL. Log on to ESPN.com for more Inside the Numbers.
The rookie who led the NFL in rushing, Edgerrin James, trying to run the Colts over a guy who's a pretty good running back himself, Eddie George and the Titans. Championship Sunday during the week. Mark Malone of the gang gets you set every night on NFL Tonight, Monday through Saturday on ESPN2. When we return, the second game, the final piece of the divisional round puzzle. Air McNair to the ground. Peyton's place, would it be in the air? Colts-Titans highlights coming up, and a talk about the next 2-7 loss in the playoffs today. Miami coach Jimmy Johnson decides to step down after 4 years of coaching the Dolphins. He will remain as a consultant for personnel matters, but not involved with the club really day-to-day. And he's handed over the reins to Dave Wannstedt, his trusty assistant from his Dallas days, and, of course, the last year in Miami. Wannstedt immediately fired 3 offensive coaches, so maybe all this starting to appeal to Dan Marino to stick around. That news will come later, but Johnson out, Wannstedt in with the Dolphins. Yesterday, they were out of the playoffs. Other round of the AFC playoffs in the divisional series, it is the champs of the AFC East, the Indianapolis Colts, looking to win their first home playoff game for the franchise since 1970 in Baltimore. It's the first playoff game ever in Indy. Into town comes, you talk about a Cinderella season. Last week, the Music City Miracle pulled off by the Tennessee Titans. They were bound and determined not to let that go by the wayside. Here we go to the big horseshoe for 2 teams that won 13 games in the regular season. Peyton Manning, first NFL start, Edgerrin James, and Javon Curse, offensive and defensive rookie of the years. How many times would they hook up? 3-3 second quarter. Manning looking for E.G. Green. It's a great diving catch, but you saw it right away. The early report of a fractured leg, although we don't have the late word, but you can see it right away, Tom.
Well, great catch by E.G. Green. Great job of laying out, concentrating on catching the football, even though obviously he was seriously injured.
Marcus Robertson, the hit, leads to a Colt field goal by Vanderjagt, 6-3 Indianapolis at home. Next Titans drive. This play started to turn things around. Steve McNair bogged down on offense. Here he runs up the middle, then to the outside for 29 yards. Thought this started to loosen them up, Tom. McNair looking for the end zone, but Chad, Mama gonna take my Kodachrome, and Jason Belzer tipped the ball away. Next play, McNair for Yancey Thigpen. And it's knocked down by Coda again. Field goal, Al Del Greco, 6-6. Jeff Fisher's team looking to play D in the final 20 seconds of the half. But Manning to Marcus Pollard, 5 yards, first down. Tick, 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 tick. Manning gets everyone to the line. Then watch this. He fakes a spike play. The ref blew the whistle, and so the Colts figured they were in business on a fake, but the refs were fooled.
Well, great fake by Peyton Manning on the play. Unfortunately, because the whistle blew, or unfortunately for the Colts, they did not complete this pass. Otherwise, Moore would have been even more upset.
Well, Moore is very much upset, had a right to be. It forced the Colts to settle for a field goal. That pass was certainly not toward the end zone, however. 9-6 at half. Eddie George up the middle, and he could go all the way right out of the gates. First drive in the third quarter. Maybe they saw McNair go up the middle, Tom, in late second quarter. This time George did it. 68 yards, 13-9 Titans.
Well, you knew this was a large part of the game plan. Watch the tackle right there. Brad Hopkins, he is going to crush down the line. The middle linebacker, Mike Barber, gets caught inside. You see Eddie George see the seam. Number 52 tries to spin out. It's a little too late. And then look at the surprising speed of George heading for the end zone.
Colts offense, we have not seen them struggle like this year. I know a couple weeks ago against Buffalo in their last game, but they didn't have much on the line. Manning overthrows Marvin Harrison. Pressured, he overthrows Jerome Pathon. Mora, Manning frustrated. Same drive. Boy, Tennessee can play some D, can they not? Allowing just one touchdown last week to Buffalo. Manning, Harrison turns around, pretty catch, 25 yards. Finally the crowd in the game. But 4th and 1. Right tackle Adam Meadows looks like Sheila McRae. He jumps early, full start, and they were going to go on it 4th and 1, but they're forced to punt. It's now 16-9 after another Del Greco field goal. Terrence Wilkins to return the punt. The little guy. Colts looking for a break, and they got one. Look at Wilkins down the sideline. He could go all the way, almost all the way. But wait a minute. Did he go any of the way? Jeff Fisher says, I'm trying to appeal. I'm trying to appeal. The thing doesn't work. I'm trying to appeal. Johnny Greer, would you look in the peep show? Tell me if he stepped out of bounds.
And I think this was a fairly easy decision for referee Johnny Greer. You see one time stepping out there, another time on the line there, then backing and watch as he makes the cut back across the field. He steps out again.
So Johnny Greer says he did step out correctly so, and the Colts, who needed that big break, did not get one. As a result, Tennessee put him back a couple of times. On 3rd and 22, Marvin Harrison can't hold on. Punt again. So that was a difference of about 60 or 70 yards, Tommy. Meanwhile, McNair, Frank Wycheck on 3rd and 3, 4 yards, first down. Later on the drive, 4th down, Al Del Greco, a perfect 4 for 4. One of the veterans from the old days of the Houston Oilers. 43-yard field goal makes it 19-9. Javon Curse tips Manning's pass. Incomplete on 3rd and 4. On 4th and 4, they got to go. Manning. And Tommy, Edgerrin James makes this catch all year. Today.
And we saw a lot of that today from the Colts. Drop balls.
The Titans, where they celebrate too early. George, in one of the few miscues from him. Fumbles. Michael Barber recovers. Mora looking for Mora points. They're down by 10. On 3rd and 10, Manning. Paython, 12 yards. Manning. Wilkins. First down for the little fella. Under 2 minutes to go. Manning. Quarterback draw. Touchdown, 19-16. And Eddie George on the sidelines, and the Titans look concerned. You know what's coming. Onside kick. But the good hands people for Tennessee, once again, their kick return team in a different role does it for Jeff Fisher. Big Pen got it. There'll be better days for Peyton Manning, but there'll be more days for Eddie George, who ran 26 times for 162 yards, over 6 yards a carry. The Titans had over 200 yards rushing before a couple of kneel down made it 197. The Titans allow 1 touchdown last week to Buffalo, 1 touchdown in the final couple of minutes to the Colts. They play defense, and they're going to the AFC Championship game to play a team, Jacksonville, who they've beaten twice this year.
We knew it was going to be tough, extremely tough environment against a very, very talented, well-coached team, and we kind of won it our way.
We certainly had some chances today, had some field position, just never quite got that big play, kind of like was said earlier. And I think you need to have some big plays in these playoff games, and something we'll learn. And I believe we'll be back next year.
This was, of course, a team victory, probably one of the biggest victories in franchise history, and we realized that we still got a couple left. So we're going to come back to work, and we're eagerly awaiting the opportunity to go down to Jacksonville.
Well, this is a wild card team, Tennessee, that won 13 games this year, beat Jacksonville twice, beat St. Louis once. In talking to Bill Polian before the playoffs started, the general manager of the Colts, I said, who's the favorite in the AFC? So I tell you what, that winner of that Buffalo-Tennessee game becomes a big, big concern. He had reason to be concerned because Tennessee stayed with the program, and Eddie George was immense.
Well, let's start with their defense first. And I think that what we saw is a very fundamentally sound defense. They read their keys. They did not allow the stretch play, the play-action pass. They did not allow the Indianapolis wide receivers to get deep and make that big play on them. They also were very good against the run and Edgerrin James. They made him earn every yard. And you could see Peyton Manning had a little bit of hesitation in his game. And then Eddie George, we knew. The one thing that they feared, Indianapolis, was this strong, powerful runner going north-south up the middle of the football field, and that was the play that eventually won the football game.
And defensively, just 2 touchdowns in 2 playoff games speaks volumes for Tennessee. Indianapolis down the stretch, the last 4 games, including this one, their run defense was not what it was. So it started to deteriorate before Cornelius Bennett got hurt. They had a middle-of-the-road defense, but 3 and 13 to 13-3, not that awful.
Boom, if we had told them that they were going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs, the Eastern Division champions before the season started, they would have been more than satisfied. I know they don't feel good now, but as the offseason goes on, they'll feel pretty good about their chances next year.
So Eddie George, 124 yards rushing in the second half alone, and the Tennessee Titans trying to become one of 5 wild card teams to move on into the sixth wild card team to move on to the Super Bowl. Game balls, well, the Rams have about 45 candidates, and we've got others to dole out. Stay with us on NFL Primetime.
Oh, Mom,
My game ball boom goes to Blaine Bishop. You see his numbers there, but think about this Tennessee defense. 2 touchdowns allowed in 2 games, and to Edgerrin James today, 56 yards on 25 carries.
And he's the leading rusher in football. They held him to 2 yards a carry. Hey, Kurt Warner, is there anything he can't do? 6 incompletions of 33 passes thrown. 5 touchdowns, almost 400 yards. Wow. We come back, we're ready to talk about championship weekend. We're the first to look into it. Can't wait. Here we go. Early game is the AFC matchup of Tennessee at Jacksonville. Only 2 games Jacksonville lost all year to Tennessee. The only 2 games they've lost at Alltel Stadium the last 2 years to Tennessee. And Tampa Bay at St. Louis, 20 years after the fact that they met in the championship game in 1979. The Rams and Bucs get together again in the Rams. By the way, if you're wondering, can you beat a team 3 times in one season? It's happened 32 times that a team swept the first 2. 18 yes, 14 no. So more yes than no, a team goes 3-0, Tom.
Well, AFC, the intrigue of the psychology of Tennessee going into Jacksonville, and then a classic defense against a great offense. I think we've got all we want for the championship.
How about this one? 5 years ago, no Rams in St. Louis, no Titans in Tennessee, no Jacksonville at all. And here we are. For Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. Yowza.
Today's
We'll be in Atlanta already next week. You know, you got to beat the rush. So we want to be there for NFL Countdown at 11 a.m. for a 90-minute show. Tom and I on prime time for a half-an-hour show at 7:30. None of these teams have won a Super Bowl, Tom, ever, so I'm going to go out on a limb. Somebody's going to win their first Super Bowl ever, being the only one the Swami gets right.
You are the Swami.
Yeah, right.